This is the OMFL.
You can't touch this.
And you're in the mix with KindaRealNate. Here's another OMFL production.
Welcome to Press Pass Live, your weekly podcast show for the OMFL. I am your host, as always, KindaRealNate, and let me bring in my two buddies, Mr. Dawson and Mr. Maniac. Fellas, how you doing on a Saturday morning?
Good morning. Pretty good.
Good morning. A little cold this morning, but doing good.
Yeah, we got a little college football game day on the TV. The family's all out, so I got the house to myself. I'm going to fire up some coffee here in a minute to wake up, and I get to hang out with both of you guys and talk OMFL. So, I mean, who doesn't want to do that? Let's just go ahead and jump right into it. We're already into week 7. And let me go ahead and let the cat out of the bag. As you can all see, we have the new Daddy Leagues website is up. It is not even remotely finished. There's a huge, long story that I'm not going to go into here in the podcast about this stupid thing. But we spent a lot of money, and it's just now starting to get worked on, and it is not finished. And I will be honest, I hate the thing. I think it's got some cool kind of things about it. There are a lot of things I hate about it. This huge thing right here being one of them. The fact that the playoff races are not on the homepage, and the fact this huge, massive thing is at the top. So I'm working on it. Give us some time. It'll probably take a week or two, my assumption, to get it to where we really want it and how we like it, but we are working on it. But let's jump in and talk about what has happened over the last couple of weeks. Now, last time we left off, I think we were in week 4, so we've got a couple advances underneath our belt. Let's talk about our favorite games from weeks 4, 5, or 6. And we're going to start Mr. Dawson and throw it over to Mr. Maniac. What was your favorite game in week 4, 5, or 6?
Yeah, I'm going to go with week 4 game between the Arizona Cardinals and the Miami Dolphins. I didn't watch this game, but the numbers and the final score kind of stuck out. Overall, both quarterbacks did not play well. Josh Rosen for the Cards, he did throw for over 200 yards, but he was less than 50% of completion. He did throw for 2 interceptions, and then Dolphins quarterback Nicholas. He was right at 50% in pass completions, 2 interceptions, but he was 27 yards shy from 300, that 300-yard game. And he did end up throwing 1 passing touchdown. But most importantly, he got that W. So I think Nicholas was pretty happy with that. But one stat that I do want to point out was the third down conversions. Or conversion rate. Cards was at 38% in converting, whereas the Dolphins was at 58%. Me personally, I always put that stat line up there along with the turnover, and those are big to me, game changers. And but other than that, it wasn't really any other major stat line out there. Both had penalties, 4 each. Takeaways. The Cardinals did win that game. But I guess in the end, if you look at the third down conversion, that was what got Dolphins over it. I didn't watch it, but looks like I said, Dolphins just got the edge and had the lead once the clock expired. Final score was 24-21. Dolphins are now 6-1, and Cardinals are setting at 500 going into week 8.
Yeah, the Cardinals are getting better as the season has kind of progressed here, and the Dolphins are proving that they're not a fluke, and they're much more consistent than they were in Madden 18, and so they're a real legit team that the AFC has to be worried about. Maniac, what was your favorite game?
Well, sticking with the Dolphin theme, I actually picked the Dolphins and the Seahawks in week 6 as my game to watch or look to from the 2-minute drill here. Basically, Mo and both Kev, it was kind of like a juggernaut game here. Two guys that have really kind of solidified themselves in the league and stuff, and this was a big win, I think, for the Dolphins. Mo, we know all about Mo in the last Madden cycle and stuff. You know how he just dominated the last 4 or 5 seasons of the OMFL and stuff, and to come out against a player like Mo and to come out with a win is always a great deal. And if you look at some of the stats, nothing was like really good. Actually, both teams struggled some on offense. Nicholas threw 3 interceptions this game. He was sacked 4 times. His rating was 83.2 quarterback rating, but he did corral Wilson very well. He sacked him twice. Increased his interception total by 2 in this game. But the one stat that kind of broke out to me is what Kev did with the Dolphins was he dominated basically pretty much across the board in all phases, not just running or passing or catching, also special teams. And this is what got the win, because I was looking at the score and I'm like, man, how did he pull off this win? Because he didn't have any rushing touchdowns. He only had 1 passing, but defense, he got a defensive score with let me pull up the player. His cornerback Howard had an interception, a return touchdown, and then a kickoff return for a touchdown. So it wasn't just the fact that he dominated through his offensive proness that we've all kind of accustomed to with Kev, but he dominated all phases of the game with the defensive side pitching in and also with the special teams.
Yeah, the Seahawks have been, one of one of the most consistent players for a long time here, and has always been one of those guys that have been in top in the NFC's, won multiple championships. As far as I know, I think the first ever 4-time back-to-back champion in the OMFL. Just completely dominated everybody with a 99 overall team, but yet in Madden 19, he kind of hasn't found that footing, right? Big Hurt seems to have his number. He is having kind of one of these, it seems like every season, early in the season, he's kind of 500 and kind of stumbling out of the block, and then he turns it on late and, gets like 8, 9, 10 wins in a row, and he goes, deep into the playoffs and then has that stumble, at least early here. We've only had 1 or 2. So, I don't know, the Seahawks are just one of those really confusing teams, and then Kevin, every single week, like I said, just continues to impress me with his consistency. He is a much more consistent player here in Madden 19, and you consistently are able to know what you're going to get from the Dolphins, and they are definitely a force in the AFC. The NFC cannot go to sleep on Mo. He's still Mo. He's got like 19 quarterbacks over there that he signed this offseason, and so if he ever decides that Wilson isn't cutting it, he can definitely move on. He still has a running game. It's not as dominant as it was in seasons past, but he still has Lockett. He still has this new rookie, Edwards, that is, he's really building a core team here, but he's just not able to kind of find that dominant footing that we've been able to know from him in the past. And so it just makes for an interesting NFC battle, but you can't sleep on the Seahawks. You just can't, because they are a very dominant team, and they are going to turn it around. Let's talk about something new. I'm going to kind of present this as something new that we're going to just give a try out. What we usually do is we just kind of look at what's going on in the league. What are like some teams that we could kind of talk about? We could sit here for hours and hours and talk about every single team, and we try to mix it up. What are the teams we talk a lot about often, and let's talk about some of the other teams that we don't talk about as often. But I want to try to do something a little bit different. So we're going to do our favorite 2 things, or are two things that are most surprising or that we've liked so far in season 82. We're going to go, Mr. Dawson. What are two things that you like so far in season 82?
Yeah, well, like I said, this is a new question, so bear with me on my answers. The next two answers. The first thing I like so far is the new players that are kind of in the mix and leading the league. You got guys like Chad Kelly, Jared Goff, and even Jameis Winston in the top 5 in passing. Whereas last season or maybe the season before, there's more of in the middle of the pack. And then you got, you got the normal guys, the usual guys up there, Mariota in passing, Bo Scarborough in running, Gilbert Nixon in receiving. There's always in the mix. And it's great for them, for the owners, get their recognition for that. But it's always good to see other owners getting their players up there and fighting for that top, for the leading passing or leading rusher, leading receiver, interception leaders. So if you look at, there's one guy that stuck out in rushing so far is Amir Abdullah. Hopefully I said that right. Right now he's got last season he had 691 rushing yards off 166 rushing attempts, and right now with still 8 games left, he is at 687 rushing yards. So Bills has found a good running attack for Abdullah. Another on the defensive side, if you look at 49ers cornerback James Sutton, he's currently tied for first. I think there's like 3 or 4 guys that are tied for first with 5 picks. So this can always go up and down. But at the moment, he actually already beat his season total last season with 4. So overall, that's one thing I do like is just to see the new guys up there, see the rookies that are still competing for those top rookies of the year spot. And second thing I do like so far is just the pace of this season. We've been going pretty fast as far as our scheduling. Guys are just eager to play the game. We did have a few slip-ups, and we had to wait the full 3-day advance, but I think that's very rare, at least this cycle, in my opinion. I know there's a few times, and Bill might can argue about this, but I do feel like we are kind of on the right pace, and hopefully we can just kind of stay that on, especially with NFL playoffs starting next week, or starting. Hopefully we kind of just keep the pace, keep it going for this season, and kind of make it headstrong and go with it come the next season. Because by the time we start the next season, I think the NFL will be over with, and I think that's kind of always take the dip as not OMFL league, but just the general Madden leagues. The interest level kind of goes down. I've seen a few owners that kind of walk, and overall, like I said, I think guys are just eager to play the game, or they're just scared that the ice pick Luciano come knocking on the door. So, but overall, I think we're in a good pace.
Yeah, and to kind of battle some of that like drop that just naturally happens once the NFL season's over. Look, guys are burnt out. I get it. We're a full, year league, and that can burn some people out. That's why we started the grown folks community, is so guys could have other options. They could play other games to mix it up. One of the things we'll do to kind of combat that is either probably the season after, or like Madden season after the NFL season's over, we'll introduce, I do have a draft class that has been edited that I trust with real life NFL names attached to the players in there. So we can kind of play with some of these college players, and I think that might pique some interest for a little bit and kind of stir some people up. So hopefully that'll help. Maniac, what are your favorite 2 things about season 82 so far?
Well, the fact that we're going to have the college draft now. No, that was kind of off the cuff. But one thing that I like, and 2, like with Dawson, I was kind of like, what direction do I need to go with this question? Because, and I guess, I was like, well, I could go many different directions. But the one thing that I like is the fact that it does seem like guys seem to be more involved this season. I don't know. It may be just me, but it seems like the chat's always kind of going, and guys are, and the things that are going on within the community. I know some are really putting out a lot of content. Some are participating in content things. And it just seems like overall involvement through and through without the league has been up. Maybe even you could say like morale. I don't know. It seems like the guys are more into this Madden at this point in stage. I know that every game has issues and stuff, and I know last season we were just, or not last season, but last Madden at this point in time, we were just kind of going through the motions and was praying and hoping that Madden 19 would be better, and we couldn't just wait to get out of that Madden. But this, so far, it seems like guys are still enjoying the game. I know it has its issues, but guys seem to be more involved at this point in time, and that's good for the league, good for the community, and we want to see more. I definitely, I've got some things that I need to get kicked in gear that I do, and hopefully I can get those started again here soon. But we want all the guys, to stay involved in stuff. But to me, I think that's one of the things. And then also, it seems like the league has grown more than just two teams winning it all the time. It seems like the parity is spread out. It's kind of almost like any given week. Someone could come out of victorious victory against any opponent. It's not just well Mo's going to win it all this week. I think right now probably the most dominant player we got is Dwayne, but there, it just, to me, it seems like there's always a chance that someone could pull out a win, even with a 75 overall team or a 78 overall team versus an 85 overall team. You know what I'm saying? It just seems like the ratings are not just, well, this guy's got an 85 or 89 overall team. It's done. You can't compete. And it seems like that the overall parity in the league is there, and I like it. And to go along with that is the fact that we're not seeing linebackers dominate the interceptions like last season. So those would be my points.
Yeah, one of the things that my 2 points, my two favorite things are the parity. And I would also lump in upsets. There have been a lot of big upsets, a lot of shocking games that I wouldn't have called at the beginning of season 82. And so I love that parity. I love that we are getting to a place with settings and teams and all of the FPR where that's what makes the NFL so fun to watch. That's why I have lost a ton of interest in the NBA. I'm still a massive Pelicans fan, but you just kind of know going into the season who's going to win, right? And there's only a couple of teams that are actually going to win, and a good season for your team is to make a playoff run, right? But winning a championship is almost off the table unless you're this super elite team or go out there and make some blockbuster trades. The thing about the NFL, right, is that the parity is everywhere, and because of that, you never know who's going to win on any given Sunday. And I think we're getting there with all of our, as one owner told me this week, handbook of rules that we have. And I find that funny because the rules for in-game is 9, 10 rules. It's pretty simple. And yes, there is a little bit of a lengthy off-season, handbook that you got to kind of be aware of, just because we're trying to keep things fair and even, and it's working. In my opinion, it's working. And I love the upsets. I love the parity. I love the fact that we just don't know who's going to win. And yeah, we do have a couple of really dominant teams, but even with that said, anybody can fall on any given Sunday, and I can't wait. My second thing my favorite thing for season 82, Jared Goff. That's right, Jared Goff. He comes over to the Saints. I never brag on my team, but I'm bragging on them right now. Comes over to the Saints. He's 78 for 105, 74%. So by far his best so far. 1,519 yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a quarterback rating of 132.8. He is just throwing dimes out there. My last game, who did I play my last game? I'm trying to even remember who I played. I don't know. I'm drawing a blank. But Jared Goff, I was getting a lot of pressure up front, a lot of cover 1, a lot of, cover 6, those types of plays. And Jared caught them in a cover 1 where my number one, number two receiver, kind of my top three guys are all interchangeable. But Fitzgerald gets behind the defense, and Goff just threw the most beautiful pass I've seen in Madden 19 so far for 60-plus yards, and just drops it in the bucket in the back of the end zone, 2 feet down, touchdown. Jared Goff has completely revitalized my offense. It's opened up the run game. Even in this last game where my run game was completely shut down, Goff just put it on his shoulders. He went 15. Oh, it was Green Bay. That's who I played. He went 15 for 21, 71.4%. 273 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. Giving up a lot of sacks, but that was a trade-off that I did. I went almost all rookie offensive line and completely rebuilt my offensive line, and so he gives up a lot of sacks. But anyway, Jared Goff, he has been my happiest surprise of season 82 so far. He's completely revitalized, and he's kind of made Madden really fun for me right now, and I'm having a good time. And unless I play Colin and his Panthers, who completely dominated me. So let's flip that coin. Let's talk about what are the 2 things that we're most disappointed in so far in season 82. Mr. Dawson, we're going to throw this one to you.
Yeah, again, like I said, didn't know exactly where to go with these questions. And for this answer, it's just more my personal opinion of it. So it's nothing about the league or nothing for with the board or anything. And this is new. Is the pass protection sliders is I don't like it as far as my opinion at the moment, and what I say by that is I'm not sure if it's just the personnel that I'm facing or what, but through my games I played so far this season, and it was I don't have very much long to pass the ball, but then when I get my opponents and they have 5-7 seconds to throw the ball constantly, and what that does is it opens up the those deep passes, can throw it in those zones. And then again, this is all just my, I guess, as of right now, I just feel like that the pass protection, I feel like I should get more pass rush, but I'm 22nd in sacks. Then my opponents, they're kind of block shedding. I'm not sure if it's just the blitzes that I'm calling. But I see as far as I sent 5 or 6 blitz one time, and he still had 5 to 7 seconds to throw the ball. And as of right now, I guess that's just a pet peeve right now. It's just we're still got the rest of the season going in. Next,
wait, can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
You hate it which way? Because it kind of sounded like you hate it both ways. So is it too good, or is it not good enough, or is it not good enough?
That's the thing. I don't know. I mean,
because it sounded like you hate it on defense because you don't have enough time, but you hate it on offense because you can't get any sacks, and there's no slider for that.
And maybe I just need somebody to just tell me that is my players. And that's probably what it is. If you look down at my roster and everything, I do feel like what I have on my defensive line, they should at least give some rush here and there, and even with a blitz, where they can confuse the offensive line. But then. When it goes, I think overall is the protection is what I'm seeing. The blitzes are mostly cover sacks that I'm getting, and maybe other teams, that's what they're getting. Is that we'll all majority of the team kind of trying to go speed receivers, and then when you try to throw the ball deep, of course there's cover sacks, and so maybe that's what it is. I'm just not overall. I'm not a good passer. I'm not able to read those pass plays as much as some of these other guys are. Some of the guys they know where to throw it to, exactly when, and how to read it and all that, and that's good for them. And maybe I'm just griping for nothing.
It's not for nothing. I just really want to ask a clarifying question to see because I do agree with you. I think that, not to derail your second point, I want to get there, but that I also this is why we do this show, so we can talk these things out. I know for me, I went rookie offensive line. I went very run block. Look, I won't lie. I'm building my team like Dwayne. That dude's so dominant running the ball. Doesn't matter what you call, he's getting 7 yards a pop, and it is the most infuriating thing in the entire world. So I was like, you know what? My offensive line for Madden is grossly underrated. So I started moving pieces and went all rookie, high run block, high impact block. that kind of stuff. And so I did sacrifice some pass block. And so I do give up a lot of sacks, but I'd say even with my offensive line, who are not great pass blockers, a lot of my sacks were coverage sacks. And so, we kind of did that on purpose to where guys would have more than a second to throw, which is what we had early in Madden, where guys were just having like half a second to throw the ball, and they wouldn't even get out of the animation, and they were getting sacked. So we were trying to stop that. But and so we could decrease some of those, interception. There's the word I'm looking for. The interception, decrease those interception numbers, and, kind of increase that quarterback percentage. And I think we've accomplished that. But I think that also means that guys like try not to force it, end up staying in the pocket too long, or they float back too far, or they float to the left or the right too far. I found that too. Like if you float back too far or to the right or to the left too far, there seems to be this thing where the second you get to the outside of that tackle box, left or right, though it's insta-shed immediately. Like immediately your offensive lineman disengages and that defensive end is free to come. Whereas if you step up in the pocket, you can usually buy yourself a little bit more time. At least that's what I'm finding, right? Like anytime you go left or right, the second you kind of get to that tackle, like where they're protecting, they immediately let their guy go, and it's an easy sack for one or two teams. And that tends to be what a lot of people will do. They'll go left or go right, and I think that might be giving up a lot of sacks. Because I'm like you on defense, I don't get a lot of sacks. But I also have a lot of very young players that are not great defensive line. I don't know your team specifically. I know out of the box they had a really great defensive line because they've been spending so many real-life high picks from Alabama defensive linemen. But so I don't know your team specifically. I think scheme goes a lot into it. Like I know my team was kind of built to be a 3-4, and then I tried to run a 4-3, and then I just got old, and so now I'm kind of like rebuilding my defensive line to kind of fit the exact scheme I want. So I think a lot goes into it, and I will also agree, I'm still a little confused about which way you don't like the slider, but I will say it is on the high end. Like there is a lot of protection. The protection is very, very good. Maybe a little on the high end, but Maniac and I tested. There is a hair trigger, and there is like this is as happy of a medium as we possibly could find. I can't even be. I don't know, Maniac. Correct me if I'm wrong. There must be 5 hours into testing he and I on just pass block and defensive line sliders. Everything from fatigue to pass block to like everything. I mean, we tested aggressive pass mode, like we tested everything. And there's a hair trigger. And if I just go one more point less pass block to allow more of a pass rush, it literally goes to defensive tackles insta-shedding in 1 second. And that stops run game. It stops pass game. For us, it may be different in other Madden leagues, but for us, there definitely is a hair trigger. And I've just rambled and took over your section. I didn't mean to, but
no, it's all good.
And there was a great Bo Scarborough story that I will tell at the end. Remind me, because when you mentioned Bo Scarborough a while ago, I wanted to interrupt you, and I was like, nope, I'm not going to. I got to save this story, but you guys got to remind me. I got to tell you this great story that happened in PM on chat the other day.
Yeah, and like I said, I think you made some solid points as far as what causing my offense getting not being able to hold the ball or pass deep or anything. Is just I look at those pocket. Maybe it's when I drop back too far back with Cam Newton, that's when the line just collapsed and just get sacked with that. I think there's many points that I'm not doing what I'm not doing right, and also what the new skill attributes for linemen. There's the run block, and then there's run block power, the run block finesse. There's pass block finesse, and maybe like you said, it's the scheme for my guys and the other opponents. I don't know, to be honest, and I want to put this thing out there. That's, to be honest, that's one of the few things that I dislike so far this season, and that's really my only other dislike. So overall, I think that we do have the rest of the season to figure it out. And I think mostly it's user error on my part and as far as the defensive sacks, like you said, I'm not getting very many sacks. It's mostly coverage sacks. And I feel like my line is young. The block shed is in the low 80s, so maybe that has a lot to do with it. But overall, I do look. I am looking in the positive as far as what I can do to help and try to eliminate the overall sacks that I'm getting.
Maniac, what are the two things that you are not enjoying about season 82 so far?
Well, the number one fact, and you know how I am with my personality, that's my.
All right, do that again. You broke up. You broke up.
I broke up. I figured it would do that as soon as I make my big impact. The fact I'm not winning all the time. That's the worst thing about this season. All kidding aside, I'm just going to touch on kind of Dawson's thing. I understand his frustration because you look at things like, well, this guy's got almost like the same type of roster I do, but yet his guy is like got like 14 sacks, and my guy could barely get 5 a season. But it's on the user side that we can improve and help that out. I think the thing that I kind of don't like so far, other than not winning all the time, is it seems like there's been a lot of FPR issues. I don't know if maybe that's just from being a board member and we're seeing stuff coming through. But lately, maybe it's just me, but means that this is the time of year where guys start getting really desperate. And, they get in that Madden cycle where guys seem to start pushing for the wins, and the quality of play tends to kind of tail off. And there's been some instances that we've seen, some of the games that I've watched and stuff, you start scratching your head. And we all get the itch. So, but I get it. I hate losing, obviously, with my first thing that I hate. And maybe some of the issues that, we talk about, just take what's being said and adjust and go from there. But overall, that's probably one of the worst things that I think so far in season 82. And maybe that's wrong for me to say that, but that's just personality.
Nope, I would agree that FPR has been an issue, but I've also, since I've had to take it back over, I hate it. It is a lot of work. So it's like scheduling, and we got Bill some help there with scheduling, but I got a group of guys that help me watch film, but it's just so much work, and I wasn't going to say FPR is one, or I was, and then Maniac said, and I was like, I'm not going to do it again. But here's my thing about FPR is, and here's one of the things I am not enjoying, and that are these wacky offensive schemes. And this isn't a fair statement, right? Like, this is a show, so we got to come up with some things. And so I would say that I like the creativity, and I like that guys are trying to think out of the box. Like, I like that. I don't want FPR is not here to make us all play exactly the same way. That's not what it's about. It's about trying to take advantage. It's trying to take the least amount of advantage of flaws as possible to make things fair and even, to where guys feel like competitively they have a chance, and they have a chance to build a team, a chance to learn the game, and to play against their style. So I love the creativity, but the thing that's causing is there's like a snapback in the FPR. So you guys see my message about 2 tight end sets, totally legit and totally allowed, but it does. Then we have to bring some clarity around, well, the defensive auto align will bring 8 in the box if it's a twin set, and how do we feel about that, right? And so I'm not going to force the defense to be at a disadvantage because the offense is running a wacky offense, right? So there has to be some clarity, but I think the thing about FPR that I haven't enjoyed is it seems to be, as guys see, I am putting people in the system. If I have to watch a film and I see what the guy said is there, and I have to tell you about it, you're going in the system. Like, I just have to show that we're serious about it, that we don't just have systems to have systems. At the end of the day, it isn't 3 strikes and you're out. That is not how it works here. At the end of the day, it will always be my call. I have a couple of guys that I lean on, that I get their advice before I make calls most of the time. unless it's something I'm super passionate about and feel passionate about. But it's not a 3 strikes you're out, but at the same time, it is, I got to show that I'm serious. And so it seems like every day I'm adding people into the system. And sometimes it feels like if I tell you, hey, that put you in stage 1, that put you in stage 2, almost hands down, the very next week, that person who got put into stage 1 or stage 2 gives a negative feedback to whoever they're playing. So it kind of feels like a tick for tat type of thing that is a little disappointing. And again, I don't want to keep repeating and beating a dead horse, but FPR is not here to make us play the same. It's here just to even the playing field so that guys can be creative and feel like they have a fair advantage, and not to use FPR as a way to gain an advantage. That's not what it is about. So my second thing that I'm most disappointed, I'm going to lump these together, the NFC West and the NFC North. I was kind of hoping we get more of these instead of just moaning and groaning about the league, because the league is in a great spot. I think both of you even said that. We're in a really, really great spot. We're in a super strong spot. I am very, very happy with where we are. We can always do better, and we're always going to strive to do better. But I am very happy with where we are. So, NFC West, NFC North. Guys, where are you at? Who wants to win these divisions? The Lions are at 2-5. They've been winning this division. The Bears come on the draft show and talk hella major trash. They're sitting at 3-2. The Vikings, who talk trash right back, are at 0-6. Look, I'm going to call a spade a spade. He knows I love him, Duval, but he even was to a point where he was ready to quit because of my quote-unquote handbook. It's like, who wants to win this division? Packers go out and draft 72 halfbacks. They've got one of the best running games, but Aaron Rodgers can't stop throwing interceptions, and the Packers have decided to not play defense at all, allowing 24 points per game. They're 1-4 on the road. Did the Packers forget that they have to play? They change your hotel, change your meal, something here, but no one wants to win the North. And then I'm looking at the West. Some of the most powerful owners that we've ever had here. Combined, I think they have 4, 5, 6 Super Bowls in that division. Nobody wants to win it. The Seahawks are at 3-3. The Cardinals are at 3-3. They can't figure out defensive FPR to save their life. The 49ers are changing quarterbacks every 3 seconds. They can't figure it out all of a sudden. And the poor Rams, I love Crazy. He's got such a talented team, but he's in the most loaded division ever. I mean, he literally... correct me if I'm wrong, but the 49ers have a Super Bowl, and that's Madden 19. Seahawks have 4 at least, maybe 5. And I think the Cardinals, Mo has one when he was with the Jets. He at least was in 2 or 3.
He had a Super Bowl appearance.
Oh, okay.
He did make it twice.
Yeah, so 2 Super Bowl appearances there. Seahawks have another at least 4 that I know of, maybe 5. And then the 49ers have been in 1. I mean, there's a lot of Super Bowls right there. And poor Crazy's like, man, I'm just trying to pick up a couple of wins here. But nobody wants to win the NFC West or North. And so I'm looking at both of y'all, looking at both of those divisions and all of those owners, easy for me to say, somebody step up, take a hold of this division. It's not my love section, but I do love the East. Every time I see Dawson pick up a win, my heart smiles just a little bit because I know it makes him happy and makes him want to stay a little bit longer. So at 5-2, I think he's pretty happy right now. But I'm looking at those 2 divisions. Who's going to step up and win that? Man, I could talk about the Jaguars, but Brady already hates my guts, so I'm not going to talk about the Jaguars. I could talk about the Falcons, but I got to play him twice a year, so I'm not going to talk about the Falcons. So I'm looking at the NFC North and Central. Somebody step up and win those divisions. All right, let's get to our last segment before we get to owner-submitted questions. Dawson, I'm looking at you. I need one bold prediction for season 82.
My bold prediction is Miguel Mackey, Nipple Guy, the Nipple Clippers will make the playoffs. They're sitting at 5-0. We do got to play in week 8, Nipple Guy. So I'm hoping I'll be able to can at least get you that one loss next week. If not, you're setting a position in a good position right now. I do see 2 teams coming out of the AFC North, 2 teams coming out of AFC South, 1 out of the West and 1 out of the East. And just right now, I want to say he can get that division, but he does have the Bengals right behind him. I think they play this week. I'm not sure entirely with the new.
I think they do.
So that's going to be a big game for them. So whoever wins will get that division lead. But like I said, or my bold prediction is that the Ravens will make the playoffs this season.
Lamar Jackson has 72 attempts. Jared Goff has 75 completions. He has one touchdown. He has one. How are you 5-0 and you have one passing touchdown? Oh, it's because your running back has 10 rushing touchdowns. That's how you do it. But I don't know. That's a bold prediction because the Ravens are definitely going to have to find a passing game if they're going to win in this league. Mr. Maniac, one bold prediction, sir.
One bold prediction. I predict Mr. Colin comes back to win the NFC South, even though he's got some injuries and stuff going on. That is my bold prediction. Or I could go Dakota Bowl, but we'll stick with the Colin comes back to win the NFC South and shocks us all.
I'm gonna probe a little bit. Why do you think the Collins can turn things around at 3-4, even with a lot of injuries? Why do you think he's gonna turn around and win this division?
Well, just the fact his roster is really loaded, and he's played really close games pretty much every week. I think he's been in every game and has lost by 7 points or less, I think, in the ones that he's lost. And a couple of those losses were against CPU. So let's hold back. I think I know he got one loss against me or two losses against me and a couple losses against CPU, but all those games were close and down the wire. And I think if he plays his game like I know he can and stuff, he comes back and wins it.
I'm going to admit there are some things about our Daddy League site that I don't like and that we have to change, but I just realized that there are two arrows sitting around the NFC standings that then rotate over to the American League standings and the wild card standings, and that's kind of cool. I did not know that was there. It definitely was one of those things I was going to have changed. So my bold prediction is that the Redskins are going to win the NFC East. Dawson is back, baby. He is back, and he is on the attack. He is winning games left and right. He's got that confidence building up. He's putting up 27 points on offense. Got to figure out that defense a little bit, Mr. Dawson. 23 points. He's 2-2 at home, so he's got to figure out that home game. But he is 3-0 on the road, and he is 2-1 in the division. The Cowboys are going to still be a big hurdle, but the Cowboys are beatable, and that team definitely he's got some running back issues there. He's not nearly as powerful as he was in years past. It's good to see that Pepper is red hot at 4-2. He's definitely starting to get some things figured out. It's going to make for a really good division, but I am pulling for Dawson to win the NFC East, and that is my bold prediction. All right, let's move on over to some owner. Sorry, I don't know what happened with my my little deal here. I had to kind of fix it real quick. Let's move over to some owner-submitted questions. Thank you, Dawson, for helping out. And maybe I've seen somebody else, but I definitely did see Dawson for stirring people up to get us some questions. Mo asked, what new teams will make the playoffs compared to last season, and what previous seats, there you go, will disappoint and miss the playoffs this season? What do you guys think? Who's going to make it? And who's not going to make it? Did something happen here? Oh, wait, whoa, I lost my guys. Hold on. Sorry, you see Discord. Hold on. Just give me a second here. Discord tripped out on me and changed my settings. Are you guys back?
Yeah.
Now you're back. Sorry about that. That was my fault. Discord tripped out, and I thought I'd fixed it, but I did not. Did you guys hear my question? Mo is asking who's going to make it and who's not going to make it. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna go with Jaguars not making it this season. He's heading at 2-3. He's got a tough battle. He's gonna fight the Colts and the Titans for a playoff spot, or at least at the moment. Titans sitting at 4-2. He's sitting pretty good. And like I said, the Ravens, I'm going for him making the playoffs, so that will still out one of the wild cards. I can't recall who made that last wild card in AFC. I want to say it was
It was Bucks and who was it? Maniac. Who made the? It was Bucks and
Seahawks.
Seahawks. That's what it was because he
Yeah.
was like a 14 win
As far as
wild card team.
As far as for the NFC West now, I only see one team coming out of that, NFC North only one team. NFC South, I can potentially see two teams, which leaves one wild card spot. I do see two teams come out of the East. I would say Cowboys is still there. He did put a number on me in Week 6. I lost 2 straight. Giants, that was a tough battle. We was going back and forth. I think he's got things going right now at 4-2. I will say that I will make the playoffs, but that's just me being optimistic. But if I'm being a pessimist, I want to say the Cowboys and Giants will make the playoffs.
Maniac, what do you think? Who's in? Who's out?
It's really tough to say, but for sure right now on the AFC side, the Ravens are going to go to the playoffs. He's going to be a newcomer there in the AFC side. The other one would be the Chargers. Bill and the Chargers. He's looked really good this season. And then possibly look for the Titans and the Browns to be pushing for a playoff spot. Those teams.
I love that AFC North this year. It's really looking good.
Yeah, they've been battling back and forth. I mean, every team on that in that division right now has a winning record and has been any and all teams from outside divisions that they've been playing. Definitely look for at least 2 teams possibly to off through that division. And on the NFC side, I definitely see. Pull up the teams here. One of the big things is going to be. I know you guys, you think I'm ragging on my team stuff. I'm not going to make the playoffs this season just for the simple fact that how other divisions are kind of lining up with records and how have fared against those teams so far. The Bucks are not going to make it this season.
Now, the last time you said, I'm not going to do A, B, and C, you did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So I'm not buying any of that.
No, but I will say I think that that what's going to happen possibly that could happen is they're coming out of the NFC East, because right now the top of the leaderboards we're showing Cowboys, Redskins, and Giants are 2, 3, and 4 respectively right now in the NFC conference, and so that could possibly move into having one of those super divisions where you have 3 teams coming out of that division. That would probably be my biggest surprise in the playoffs. Would be 3 teams coming out of the East. Bears might push for the NFC North, but I still think when it's all said and done, I think the Lions are going to come back and take that division over. He just got a new toy with J.J. Watts on the defensive side. Like, he needed some help on defense, but look for that to be a race down to the end. And that's pretty much it. Because, I mean, once you get past those guys and stuff, then it's pretty much there's a drop off in competition. And to me, it looks like the AFC right now is a lot stronger to conference than side.
It's so hard, but I'm going to be a man and make some decisions here. Redskins are in. Giants, I don't remember. I think they might have made it. I don't remember. I think they're on the bubble. I do think it would not surprise me if the NFC East has 3 teams that make it. But I'm going to say Giants are out. Cardinals are in. Seahawks are in. 49ers are out. That's going to be a big one. Lions, you're out on this one. Nobody else in the NFC North is going to make it. Whoever wins that division, I think that the Bears are going to end up winning it. And then I also think that the Falcons are going to be in. It would shock me if he's not in. I'm going to make a bold prediction over here. I do think that the Browns are in. I think the Jets are out this year. The Patriots are out this year. The Chargers are definitely in. I do think that the Titans are going to make it, and, of course, the Colts and that means the Jaguars are going to be out. So there are definitely some really good teams there, and it should be a really, really fun race. Mo also says a little early to tell, but always fun. What are your picks? What are your picks a quarter in to represent the AFC and NFC? We've already kind of talked about that, so we're not going to do that one again. We have a prediction show. Go watch that prediction show. There's a full show on that. So we'll take your first one. We're not going to take your second one. Let's go over to Tim. He says, first few weeks have seen surprises. Will they balance out, or will it continue all season? What do you guys think? These shocking games, these surprises, do you think they'll continue on, or do you think things will kind of even out?
I think it's going to continue, just because what we talked about earlier is just the the level playing field is coming together, is closing in. You've seen guys scrape out those wins unexpectedly. You assume the same guy is going to win, is going to pull out, and then they end up losing. One key game, like I said, this week will be the Ravens and Bengals, and do they play? This schedule I can't. I guess they play next week. Anyway, that's gonna be a big game. I think that's gonna be an upset. You like to say the Ravens, if they pull out, that'll be an upset over the Bengals, the powerhouse team, where they stand right now. I think there's gonna be a few upsets throughout the season, some unexpected wins, and that's gonna keep guys that's in the playoff and the bubble, and some guys that's going to be eliminated from playoffs early. And so forth, going in throughout the season.
Maniac, what do you think?
Yeah, I think there's still going to be some surprises. It may tail off a little bit because, this is a part of the season where guys start and themselves. They get to really understanding and knowing their team, and this is when guys are going to make the moves. Obviously, some guys are lacking, so you may not have the amount of output that you might have seen from them 2 or 3 games in the season because of their record, tanking issues possibly. But I think we'll still see like some of these, like Dawson just mentioned, the Ravens and Bengals. I think that is really a definite possibility with a big upset because he's already beat him once or twice, I think, in this Madden cycle. And it just seems to be that there are certain guys that match up really well against certain other teams that are really dominant. But when they play this one guy, he always seems like he kind of has his number and just gives him fits or pulls out that crazy upset win. And I look for like teams like the Ravens and even the Giants this year has really kind of taken on a different mindset, I think, with this team. And it's really showing. So I look for things to continue, but probably tailing off a little bit.
I remember the day I found myself. It was 1995. It was a cool summer's day. Now, listen, the cream rises to the top, and I do think that as we move on into the season that we will find more stability and that teams that are really good and they're going to win consistently will begin to really have their team wins. I do hope, though, that they continue. I love the surprises. I love the shocking games. I want every owner here to feel like they have a legitimate chance to win an OMFL Bowl if they play correctly and they do what they need to do. Because I know a lot of leagues out there, half the guys know that they have no opportunity to really compete. And I really want to strive to help teams feel like they have an opportunity to compete. So I think it will balance out a little bit, but I do hope that they continue. For Mr. Miguel, now he's got a whole novel here, but it's really just one question. He says, why the change of XP sliders and why now and not before? I know that 10% is not that much, but it can make a big difference. Your friend, the Nipple Crippler, by the way, let everyone know that Baldwin is still on the block, the legend. Thanks. I hope that Baldwin retires on the block because as of right now, no one wants to trade for him. So, what do you think about these XP sliders? Let me go ahead and answer some of this, and then we'll kind of get you guys' thoughts because this 100% was my decision. A little too much eggnog at 2 o'clock in the morning, sitting there. No, I've been mulling this over for a while. Last year, last Madden, I should say, we had a guy that was part of the community who did a ton of testing on sliders. So supposedly, I trusted him and kind of said, okay, here's where we need to be for long-term success. Well, the problem is that teams were kind of taking advantage of the system and able to like build these massive teams. And so we decided like late last Madden on how we were going to deal with it in Madden 19, and that was to kill the XP slider bonuses that you get as you move into the off season, and let that just be a league voted thing and really kind of limit how much guys can do. But it also is a new system for Madden 19, so we've been kind of like tweaking and learning, and I think it's been in a good place, and I like where it's been. I just don't want to get where we were in Madden 19, where the Seahawks were able to build a 99 over. Literally, all 4 of his defensive linemen had 99 almost everything. We just can't have that. It's just not realistic. It throws off the competitive balance. It's really bad for the league. He was able to start trading backups for first-round picks. Like, that's how you win 4 Super Bowls in a row and completely dominate, right? And so we had to adjust that, and I just found that now that we're 2.5 seasons deep, that really was very, very difficult to build some positions. Offensive linemen, quarterbacks, really all positions. It's not easy to just take a very raw player and build them. And because guys can't just pile XP wherever they want it, and there is some randomness to it, I figured why not? Let's give it a shot, and let's give a 10% and even 20% in some position boost for like kickers and punters, fullbacks, right? Like you can't build a fullback. Let's give a boost, and let's give guys the opportunity to build. It's not a massive change. It's you can look at it on the FPR general rules that we have and see exactly where those settings are. So it's not a massive change, but hopefully the little bit will help and will allow guys to be able to build their players a little bit more. But please give me your feedback. Tell me what you guys think.
Yeah, I think you said it right. In the last cycle, those end of the season where award XP points was just kind of crazy. Because whether it be young rookies and age 21, 22, and they'll get a crazy amount from getting the leading receiver to leading running back to the passing leading passer. So I knew we had to do something about it, and this season, like you said, the new Madden system, I do wish there was like a way you can like set up how many XP a normal dev trait player can get versus a quick dev, star, and then superstar, because normal dev players are starting to find out that they're not really they're hard to build on. I mean, unless you actually put the effort and end up getting lucky and win those awards, in the year awards that we have out. Overall,
normal is last year's slow.
Yeah, pretty much. Overall, I do like the test. I mean, I like it to see how it is, and it's not very much. It might add up to be a lot by the time we get to the last season. But in the last season, everybody should have their team set up where they should be and ready to go. But yeah, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how it goes. And then and if it does kind of if we start seeing a big jump on a few players with the superstar dev players, they're getting no focus training and the scheme fit, and they're getting like 25 to 3,000 XP each week. We might have to cut that down, but like you said, it's a test, and we got to do something to help out with the normal dev players.
Yeah, I think you both guys hit it on the head and stuff. I know, like, personally, some of my worries was like, on my team I have 2 really good young safeties and stuff, and I've stuck with them since the first season we had in this match. And both of them were low 70 players, and over that time I've only I think one I've gained 5 points, the other one I gained 3 points and stuff. So and they're really good young solid players. So I haven't wanted to part from them. Kind of want to maintain them stuff, but it's like they're going to be maybe 77 by the end of the cycle, and they're not going to be anything. So personally, it's a great welcome to see that the extra points to that. And I do think, I mean, if you think about it, we were getting 100 points, I think, for most of the skill positions across the board, and what that basically adding that 20 onto there in the 4-week period or 5-week period, you'll get another 100 points that you wouldn't have had as preferred with the 100 and stuff. So it will be a little increase, and over a couple of seasons, it may definitely make an impact on whether having another dice roll or not for your player leading up to that. So I really do appreciate it from that standpoint and a personal standpoint.
Yeah, we'll just kind of see, and who knows? We may even do this and go, you know what? We need a little bit more boost, right? And we may add just a little bit more. I don't know. Like, it's definitely worth the shot. Let's move over to Cincyberg. He'll take us home. 2 more questions. He says, how's this season's draft class looking? Heard it was a down year and should trade picks. I don't know why I can't read today, but I'm struggling with the reading. Did this guy just make a bad draft, you think? Okay, let me answer the first one, Cincy. None of the drafts that we use have been human-generated. They are all Madden-generated draft classes that have been saved, and then the guy just did the edits to attributes that we have for our league. So no high motor. Linebackers and defensive linemen have conservative play ball trait. Everybody else has balanced, right? He just made those changes, and we had access to them. The problem is he only made 3. One I want to save because one of them they did edit names to fit NFL potential draftees, and so I'm saving that one. The other 2 we've already used. This draft class that we have now is a completely Madden-generated draft class. I just hit auto-generate, Madden create. It's just like every other league would use, and then I physically went in and did all the edits because unfortunately I was the only person who could edit, and so I went in and did all the edits myself, and that's probably what we will do for all but that one whenever we decide to introduce that one with the real NFL players. My hesitation, and it's still a hesitation, is it's a trade-off. I give real-life player names and ratings so that it piques interest and guys get excited. But the trade-off is that it's completely up, because Maniac and I went around and around this mountain, right? Because he's pushed and pushed and pushed to make our own draft classes, and he wants to do it. My issue, and it will always be my issue, it will always be my hesitation, is that you're completely leaving it up to whoever is making that draft class to decide who gets what. Like, it totally is. If that person is feeling a butt itch that day and wants to give $5.99 speed players, then he can, like, he just gets to create whatever it is. It's not random. It's always going to have that person's flavor to it. If I did it, it would have my flavor to it. If Maniac did it, it would have his flavor. If Jim Bob Cooter down the street made it, it would have his flavor to it. So that's my hesitation of using those like NFL draft classes, because it's always going to have someone's twist to who they think is a good player, which isn't always true, right? We've all seen it from Ryan Leaf on down the line. So that's just kind of get that out of the way. This is a completely Madden-generated class. You both have got to look at it a little bit in the scouting that you're doing for your own team. I also put this out there. I did have full access to full stats. And guys are just going to have to take my word for it. I hope that I built my character over 22 years and that people really know me. I didn't look. I didn't like write down notes. I know what everybody else knows. There's a way that I can edit it where I just like the stats pop up for half a second, but I get to where I need to go to edit what I need to edit. So yeah, I was the only one that had access. Nobody else had access to see the actual stats. But seeing those actual stats, even at a glance, it made me know that this is not as strong of a draft class as last season, which was one of the most strongest classes I've ever seen. So what are you guys seeing in the scouting that you're doing? What do you think? What do you think about this draft class?
Well, for me, if you look at the offensive line, I think everybody can use another offensive line. There's a few out there that's pretty that are going to be stars. We're not probably not star depth, but good players. Overall, looking at the projected players, looks like it's more defensive heavy. Which that doesn't mean anything. Just because they're projected first round, second, third, doesn't mean they're actually talented level as far as that. With that being said, I know Geist's contract's coming up next season. Montgomery, he hasn't really been running well for me, so I'm kind of looking for a running back. I saw a few out there, not near as many power backs I saw the last few drafts. So I know in the last cycle there was a lot of power backs. This cycle there was a lot, and I'm more of a mix this season. So yeah, I still see some product out there. It's just you got to get lucky and be in the right position at the right time. And I'm sure there will be some bust out there. And I haven't really looked at it. I might throw I guess a hint to everybody is the news. Usually you can see the draft and look and see who is being who did what throughout the season. And I haven't seen any of that. So maybe it's just I mean, you can't look at that and kind of predict which player is doing what, who's projected to be normal, quick, dev, or whatever on that end.
I kind of like the no news thing since you brought that up and stuff, because to me it was like a dead giveaway on a lot of players that this guy was going to be great. But I from my scouting and stuff, I think this draft, and I think there's going to be some really good players, but they're also going to be the amount of them are not going to be as much as we saw, and going to be some busts in this draft. It seemed like the last few drafts we really didn't have a lot of busts per se. The guy that was in the third round that when you scouted, all of a sudden it turned out he was like a seventh rounder. Most of the time it was kind of even kill. But this one seems to be like there is some, and wide receivers are one that I really kind of focused on and stuff. And it seems like there's going to be some guys that, are really going to be the guys that you're thinking like, oh, this guy should be really good. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, wow, he really stinks, And so I think there is going to definitely be a bust factor in this draft, and it should be intriguing. As all of our drafts are, and really, I can't wait.
Yeah, I think that's my feelings about this draft. I think it's very top heavy, whereas last year it seemed to be very deep. And look, I mean, I rebuilt my offensive line in one offseason, 3 draft picks, with some really good backup players who have potential. I think that it's definitely gonna not be that draft. It's just not that deep. But I think there's definitely the high end talent as always. I don't think that we'll have the speed that we had last year. That was one of the more shocking things about last year. Look, we'll see when we get to combine numbers. But I remember last year, we've seen the Falcons, the Seahawks. There was somebody else that got a really fast.
Well, the Falcons hit twice.
Yeah.
They hit the fast wide receiver and the fast cornerback, and the same with the Mo. He had the real fast cornerback with the fast receiver.
It's. I don't think we'll have that kind of speed in this draft. I don't think that you're going to have the depth of offensive linemen that we had last draft. I just don't think that the depth overall will be there. I don't know that. I think you will have. I think one thing that will compare is the quarterbacks. A lot of quarterbacks came out of last year's draft and got to start. I think that opportunity will be here again. And this kind of leads into Cincyberg's last question, which I think is a super intriguing one. He says, is this the final year to rebuild completely and have time to compete? And I think that's a really interesting question and goes into like how we all view team building and GMing. And I know we all have kind of a different take on how that happens. So what do you think? Is this the last year that you can completely rebuild and be able to compete?
Yeah, I don't think it's the last year. I do think no, this draft coming up. If you're expecting to get some star players that can develop and to be those top players on your team, you can rely on them to make the catch, make the tackle, or whatever. I do think it is coming up. The countdown is coming. But as far as like making moves, trades, looking for agency, I do think this is the time of the cycle we start seeing the older star veteran players either in free agency or they're
Yeah.
regressed so much that they're not worth that 15-20 million a year contract. I think we kind of learned that from last season free agency when we saw Dakota. He signed Wentz, then cut Luck, and he's still kind of paying them the same, but he doesn't have to pay Luck 30 million come next season.
Yeah.
And same thing for if you look at the recent trade, Outlaw, he couldn't. I'm not sure if he couldn't or if he just didn't want to. JJ Watt, his salary was up at 29.5 million next season. And instead of cutting him, he chose to get some value back off of that. So we're starting seeing these veteran players move around, much like we have throughout the cycle. I still think there is some time once we start creeping up in that the fifth season that we're in. Then it might be crunch time, and if you don't have the team where you're not if you don't have the team set up the way you want it, then you might be in trouble and might miss out on at least trying to get a trophy this cycle. And another thing that you can look at is the import players that we do.
Yeah.
Some guys, they like for myself, I chose I think it was a last year rookie, and he was like 72 overall. He wasn't very good at all. He's still not good, but I still have him. And he is up for contract, so I'm gonna keep him. I guess that part of keeping some guy that you carry over. And then if you look at the Jags, Brady, he brought over a superstar guy or star linebacker, and really that kind of benefited from him his early success this cycle. So this is also this draft, and maybe even this past draft, you start looking at players that you can carry over. If you get that right guy that you really like, that you want to carry over, that will be a impact guy, or you kind of wait till we get later on in the season, like I did. I think a few other guys did. They just got a younger guy or I guess a overall guy that's lower that you're able to re-sign, and then at least have them up where you want them by mid-cycle, which my plan kind of failed, but I am kind of progressing up to that point. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think with the with the drafts and stuff, probably I don't know. We're probably looking at another 3 seasons, maybe 4 max.
Yeah.
In this cycle. So probably, I mean, you definitely want to have it in mind when you're drafting, when you're building your team, that like especially guys that's taking over low overall teams and stuff. Probably now the lower overall your team is, probably now this season, finishing out this season, going into next season is when you really start to need to be making huge moves and really starting to try to churn your roster to get it ready to build going forward into the future seasons. But the guys that are kind of in the middle of the road right now, the 80 to 85 overall teams, you probably got a couple seasons to really still churn those rosters around and stuff. And like, Dawson was saying, you've seen guys kind of dumping off some of that salary and stuff. And it's definitely a nice feeling to going into the off season. And when you have really good star players that you want to keep to kind of build the nucleus, to have that cash in your cap to either sign or go out and grab that guy that you really think, hey, I'm 1 or 2 guys away from really competing good or solidifying my offensive line, defensive line, etc. But for me personally, this next draft is really going to be a draft that's important to my team. Really going to have to try to hit on the first couple of draft picks that I'm going to have, and they need to be somebody that can contribute right away and really start to build into what I would like to ultimately a superstar player going forward. And as far as looking towards an import player, I may have already gotten that from my last draft with my outside linebacker Jackson.
There's no way you were bringing over an import from last year's draft.
Well,
he's going to be like 55.
He's 21. So
maybe he might be able to make it then.
Yeah, I like to draft young. Well, the import that I brought over this season, Doucette, the wide receiver, he was 24 when he came over. So, he'll probably be in the 24, 25 range. And if he's a big-time superstar by that time, he's coming with me. So,
you know who watches ages like a hawk? Who does it? Who in our league watches draft ages to an annoying level?
I know Colin mentioned it before.
Outlaw. Constantly. Oh, he's 23. You can't draft him. You lost your damn mind. Like, you can find an import at any time. Like, you just draft the best player available. Yeah, look, I think that because the way our rules are set up, the way the offseason free agency, trades, there will be a change to trades, just so that you guys know that will be coming in season 83. I think for the better. We're trying to, even as a board, when we discussed it, we were all confusing each other. So we have to simplify this and make this simpler and easier to track and easier for coaches. So we're going to try to do that. I still think it will still confuse some people, but we're going to give it an attempt. But I think the way free agency and contracts, the way everything's set up, you can rebuild a team at any time as long as you find the players that fit your style. If you draft well, if you take care of your money well, I think when we get into seasons 4, 5, 6, you really start to see the guys who screwed up their cap, right? Who went into season 1 and 2 and just like gave everybody big fat contracts. And then you also see the teams that are competing and doing really well are the teams that took care of their cap and took care of their situations the way they should have and their contracts the way they should have. So I think you can rebuild any season and still compete. I don't think it's even completely close to being too late. I mean, we still have 6 human months to play this game. So yeah, there's a long time to go as the league turns 22 in just a couple of weeks. January the 12th is, I think that's our birthday. I'm pretty sure that's our birthday. It's about when we kicked off the OMFL, so we'll be 22 years old. And even then, January the 12th still means you got 5.5 months left to play. So there's plenty of time to rebuild your team, to find those imports, to find all that stuff. So let's put a bow in the show, man. Let's wrap it up. We've been going at it for, an hour and 17 minutes. So good show today. But let's put a bow on it and take this thing home. Mr. Dawson.
Yeah, I mean, a good show. And like I said, overall, I mean, we're on a fast pace. FPR, I think we can all brush up and we can all be better at that. Overall goal sheet, it's been going pretty good. I mean, normal guys or the usual guys are the ones I'm betting. Except Nate,
I don't know what's up with me. How did I bust a week 1? Oh,
well, you wasn't the only one. Massimo did too. So, just the normal guys. We got a few new ones coming in and coming out. I think Cardinals, Mo with E, placed a bet a couple weeks ago, and that was it. And then we got Tim. He's placed a bet. I say he did. I guess I don't have him in there. No, maybe he didn't. Maybe last season he did. I guess my mind's running. But overall, I think his run. Priest did. He placed a bet. That's I guess what I was thinking. Either way, play clean. And everybody, I guess, be safe and have a happy New Year.
Yeah, if you are not involved in this league, it is 1,000% your fault. Like there are so many ways. Look, there are leagues that do it better. In some ways, especially the production of shows and that kind of stuff, like the Madden Ballers League, like that, they do some stuff that I'm like, I don't know how you guys are married and have jobs and are able to do all this stuff because I invest a lot here and I don't have time to do all this stuff. But anyway, but nobody creates and is as creative as we are in creating as many ways for you to get involved in this league and be engaged and be able to participate in all of the things that make us what we are. So if you're not participating in the Gold Sheet, the Fantasy League, the Pro Bowl voting, the after-season award voting, or all the other zillion things that we have going on, the incentive plan, that's completely on you. Mr. Maniac, put a bow on the show.
Yeah, good show. A lot of good questions actually, and from the community and stuff. And keep those rolling, guys. It's always intriguing to try to answer those on the fly. Um, uh, Good point by Dawson. We talk about FPR and stuff, but everybody, no matter who you are, from the least to the highest, you can always improve or try to improve your game in some way, some form. And uh, I'm excited to see how the season's going to end, how the playoffs are going to go. And then, also we've got I got to give the fantasy football a little plug, and then we're going to have a Pro Bowl voting here coming pretty soon. It will be around the corner, and those things like that. I hope guys really enjoy it. There's probably going to be some changes coming to fantasy football. We're going to probably try to finish it out the way we got it this season, but there is going to be some changes for the next season. I think it will simplify a little bit better for everyone, and maybe participation will be a little bit more, because I know some guys are kind of missing the deadline with when we advance and stuff. So, look for those things to happen. But really appreciate guys like Massimo, Mo, and Cincy, giving input on things like the fantasy football. If you're invested in something, as I've always thought, if you invest in something, you're going to put work into it. You're going to be more involved. So the more the merrier. And I really looking forward to seeing this season underway.
Yeah, and I've reached out to Daddy League to see if he could help make our fantasy league go a little bit better. So hopefully he'll be able to add a little something to the page that will help us be able to track that a little bit easier. But I so appreciate you putting that together. Again, just one of the zillion ways that we try to raise the bar a little bit and give guys more things to keep them engaged. My last comments, I think FPR is actually in a good place. I know it looks worse because I'm putting a lot more guys into the system, but I'm just trying to show that this is serious and that we're going to hold guys accountable. But I think that FPR is progressing and that they were in a good place. I love the content. I will say that there seems to be a dip this season in content, so I'd love to see the content, fire back up and get more content produced from guys. I think there's just so many easy ways for guys to produce content and to participate in the incentive plan. I want to see that continue to increase. And again, there are owners that will always just be here to play, and that's, it's not totally fine. I'll admit, I don't love it. We put in so much work here because we want you to stay engaged. And like Maniac said, invest into this league, this community, and into your team by participating. But I'd say I'm also looking for some more hot takes. On this podcast, I'm going to try to give more hot takes to stir up the talk. I want to see comments on our YouTube page. I want to see comments on our website whenever we post videos. I want to hear what people are thinking. I want to hear what you're saying. I know that I look like I'm on 24/7, but I cannot keep up with all the chats and all the things that are being said. But I can read comments, and I can see likes and shares. And so I'm really pushing you guys to help us there. And let's see what you're coming up with. And let's have some fun with it. So grownfolksoc.com is our website. We did some adjusting there to kind of clean it up a little bit. So there's some new links up here for post a blog and your WordPress admin section, because we kind of removed the little bar that was showing that stuff. Our Daddy Leagues page is always daddyleagues.com/OMFL. Our Twitter handle, grownfolksoc on Twitter. So make sure you give us a like. Whenever you post content, tag us, and we will retweet whatever you tag us on, because we want to make sure that your content is getting out there for all to see. And it's really been fun to see our Twitter take off. Our YouTube page, youtube.com/C/grownfolksonline community. So please go give us a subscribe. We'll subscribe to you right back. We're at 241. Not massive. We're not going to be bragging about that number anytime soon, but I'm still blown away by the fact that we have that many subscribers. So subscribe, and we will subscribe to you right back. Our Twitch, twitch.tv/grownfolksoc. You can see we've got 81 videos uploaded on there. I've kind of went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I think I've settled on streaming on Twitch and then uploading to YouTube because I can do a higher frame rate on Twitch than I can on YouTube. And so it really helps me. And then my last plug is from League Crawler. League Crawler has got their end of the year awards that they're coming up with, and they've decided on a couple, but then there's a handful that they've put out there for the community to vote. You can see I blasted it all in chat all over the place. It's all over Twitter. Really would like for you guys to take. It literally takes less than 30 seconds. Go give us a vote and vote for all of our stuff if you really like it. You also have an opportunity to vote for other things out there, but I love the guy at League Crawler. He's a really good dude. I love what he does for the community, and it's an honor whenever we're honored by him. We won this 2 years ago. I don't think he did it last year. I could be wrong. Maybe I missed it, but we won League of the Month in 2017, and then League of the Year in 2016. I don't remember. It's one of those years. I don't think he did it last year. So it has to be 16. But anyway, go give us a vote. Take a couple seconds. You can also go to our page. So if you go under Madden, you can look for, let's see, I think you can look for the OMFL under here. Where's it at? I was quickly hoping I could show this. That's not it. That's not it. That's not it. All these no logos taking up all this space here. The OMFL is on here. So I think you can just search OMFL at the top. I always get to it because it's through my account. Come on, man. Why are you being so slow? There we go. OMFL, right? You can pull up and you can give us a ranking. So there's a ranking system on here. This is our page. You can give us a league ranking. We have 31 votes right now. The average is a little low, 7.7. Probably some bitter people there giving us some votes. You can see there's League of the Month, League of the Year for 2017. And then League of the Month for 2017 also in like October of that year. But anyway, go check us out. Leave us a comment. You can leave a comment. All these comments are from me because it's kind of how I advertise. But you can also leave comments. You can give us a ranking. So do that for us and help us out. So good show. Mr. Maniac, Mr. Dawson, thank you so much for being on here with me and helping me do this. I'm super excited about where we are as a community. Looking to avoid... just enjoy my last couple of days of vacation here and just hang out with all you guys, enjoy my last couple hours of freedom as the wife and kids are out watching a movie here. And yeah, let's just have fun, keep getting those games done. Let's have a good time, and it's going to be awesome. So for Maniac, for Dawson, for Dwayne, who had to work today and couldn't be here, for all the leadership here in the OMFL, I really appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Have a good New Year.